computer. I now call this meeting of Davenport Community School District Board of Directors to order. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good job. You guys slow down so the rest of us can catch up a little bit.
meeting adjourned. That's awesome. No more business.
Thank you. Director Barnes, would you please read the mission and vision statements?
Mission statement. The Davenport Community School District is dedicated to growing excellence in academics, the arts, and athletics for every child by ensuring the highest quality education in an environment shaped by our diverse community, preparing our students to be lifelong learners and productive citizens. Vision statement. Education that challenges conventional thinking, prepares all students to compete in a global society, and inspires our students, parents, staff, and community to answer the question, what if?
Thank you, Director Barnes. Director Poston, would you please read our guiding principles?
Opportunity. We provide abundant opportunities to empower students to reach their full potential academically, creatively, and socially. Collaboration. We foster an environment that allows students, families, and community stakeholders to come together for the betterment of our students' education and future. Transparency. We share relevant and important information with our students, families, and the community to maintain open and productive communication.
Thank you, Director Poston. Superintendent Schneckloff, would you please read the goals?
Tonight we'll be focusing on Goal 2, increase access and success for all students, and Goal number 4, foster the innovative use of facilities, finances, and staff.
Thank you, Superintendent Schneckloff. We'll move on to public hearing. I will now conduct a public hearing on the proposed use of SAVE revenue for the athletic facility infrastructure project. Notice of the hearing was published in the Quad City Times on November 25th, 2023. Anyone wishing to speak on this item, please step forward to the microphone or call 1-312-626-6799 and enter meeting ID 922-6614-8373 and passcode 039003. State your name and address for the record. I know this is what you guys are all here for. Seeing and hearing none, I now declare the public hearing closed. May I have a motion?
Mr. President,
Director Beck.
do I have to read the whole resolution? Okay. I move the board adopt the resolution supporting the proposed use of SAVE revenue for an athletic facility infrastructure project as printed below.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you, Director Potts. Is there any discussion? All right. This is going to be a roll call vote. Director Beck.
Yes.
Director Potts. Yes. Director Barnes.
Yes.
Director Poston.
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome.
Yes.
Director Hayes.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. All right, our second public hearing. I will now conduct a public hearing on the proposed issuance of approximately $160 million school infrastructure sales and services and used tax revenue bonds. Notice of the hearing was published in the Quad City Times on November 25th, 2023. Anyone wishing to speak on this item, please step forward to the microphone or call 1-312-626-6799 and enter meeting ID 922-6614-8373 and passcode 039003. State your name and address for the record. Seeing and hearing none, I now declare the public hearing closed. May I have a motion?
Mr. President,
Director Poston.
move the board adopt the resolution supporting the issuance of approximately $160 million school infrastructure sales, services, and use tax revenue bonds as printed below.
Second.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. Is there any discussion on this? Seeing and hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Again, this will be a roll call vote. Director Poston.
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome.
Yes.
Director Beck.
Yes.
Director Hayes.
Yes.
Director Potts. Yes. Director Barnes.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. We will now move on to the reason you all are really here tonight. Recognitions. Our topic tonight is summer and fall athletics. I will turn it over to the superintendent.
Well, one of our themes for this year is showing up together. And I think when you look out into this crowd and you look at all of the events that have occurred over the summer and fall, that none of this is possible if the adults in this room don't show up together for the children that are in here. And this is an excellent example of our community showing up together for our kids. This is the most we've had in this boardroom celebrating our student athletes in any time we've been doing a celebration like this. This is absolutely incredible. Students, let's give our parents a round of applause. You have no idea what they do to get you to your ball tournaments, your travel tournaments, your popcorn, all of that stuff. And I'm eternally grateful for that. And this gives me great hope to see. I can also tell just from a distance here that our weight room programs are working, because there are some finely tuned athletes in this crowd tonight. And I also see some Davenport legends in here tonight too. So it's wonderful to see this group of people come together. Again, and we have some champions in here. We have people that have placed at state. And one of the things that when you accomplish something at the level that you've accomplished, no one can ever take that feeling away from you. Watching you in our gyms and our pools and our stadiums and our tracks and all of those different places, I've watched the jubilation of victory. And what it takes to achieve that moment is the weight room. It's countless hours in wherever you are at. And I watch our students. If you want to know who the first cars are at the high school, it's the kids going into the weight room, into the practice facility. If you want to know who's there last, it's the kids doing the music productions, working on there. These are our students that are going to prepare themselves for anything in the world. And we want to, as a board and as a cabinet, we want to recognize our students. And so tonight, we have a presentation. Here's the format. Our district athletic director is going to come up and speak here in a second, and then our building athletic directors, I believe, are going to introduce the coaches. At the end, students, by school, we're going to come up here and take a picture with the school board. Okay, so we'll call out West, Central, and North, and we'll come up here and we'll take pictures with the school board. And then after that, you do not have to stick around to watch us conduct business. As exciting as it is, feel free to exit after that. So with that being said, I'll invite Tammy Conrad up to the podium.
Thank you, TJ, for the introduction. That's how I was going to start off, by introducing myself, but he took care of that for me. So I would just like to say that I'm honored to stand up here before you tonight to introduce our 73 student athletes. At 2 o'clock this afternoon, we had 26 of them that were going to be in attendance, but I think we blew that out of the water. Okay? Not only do we have the student athletes that we're going to recognize, but we also have 3 coaches and 1 coaching staff who have received either MAC all-conference recognition, have been state qualifiers, or received state recognition. I got to take a breath because I just ran from upstairs. Before I proceed, I would like to take just a quick moment to introduce to you our high school athletic directors. Jeremy Mosier. Where are you, Jeremy? There he is. All right, thanks. From Davenport North. And Kevin Peterson from Davenport Central. Michelle Lillis is unable to be here tonight as she has a wrestling meet over at Davenport West. So they are responsible for making sure our student athletes have what they need in order to compete and to see that those competitions go off without a hitch. In addition, I want to thank them along with all of our coaches who put in the countless hours that they do, both in season, out of season. I'd also like to do a quick shout out to Phyllis Meyer, who is the secretary in our district athletic offices. And she does all the behind the scenes stuff. I don't even know what she all does. I've only been in the job about 5 months, so I'm learning. Athletes, thank you for representing Davenport Community School District on and off the field of play. The effort you put forth during the season or in the off season is being recognized here tonight. Parents, thank you for supporting DCSD athletics, and most of all, your student athlete. I am going to now turn this over to our athletic directors, who will introduce the coaches of the specific sports, who will then in turn recognize the student athletes. I have a cheat sheet up here for all of you coaches. Don't worry about that. All right. We're going to have a little change in the schedule because we have somebody that needs to compete at 6 o'clock. So we're going to go with Davenport North first. So, Mr. Mosier.
Thank you, Tammy. And I want to thank the school board for having us out tonight. Absolutely fantastic summer and fall at Davenport North. We can't wait to introduce these Wildcats to you. I'm going to call my coaches up. They're the ones that spend all the time with these athletes and get them ready to go. Our first coach is Coach Colin Karstens, our head baseball coach. Come on up, Coach.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and just read off our players. We had a really good season. I'm really proud of all of them and really excited for this year as well. But first team, all conference was Nolan Slider, who's not with us today, but also Bryce Pauly. I think he is here. If you want to stand up real quick. Second team, Maddox Chapman, who legitimately just walked out the door. He had to get to his bowling meet. So Brandon B. and Roderick Tannemore, who now is off to college. Honorable mention, Nate Cheeseman, Cam Goff, and Grant Weiss.
Hey, athletes, when your name is called, if you'll stand up and get some recognition, we'd appreciate it. Next up, our head softball coach, Doug Beasley.
Thank you. First team, Liliana Alvarado. She's away at college. Second team, we have Allison Boynton. If Allison would stand up. Second team also, Maddie Cavens. And honorable mention, Ayla Strite, who's here. And we also had Kaylin Shorter and Zelly Muhammad.
Next up, we're going to talk some cross country. We have coaches Lizzie Lundeen and Mike Van Hully.
Okay, hello there. We wanted to honor JC Newsy, who is a 9th grader at North, and he received all conference, and he was a state qualifier, our first state qualifier since 2017. And as a ninth grader, he was the third fastest ninth grader in the state of Iowa.
Our volleyball coach was not able to make it tonight, but we had a second team all-conference performer in Chloe Baez. And 2 honorable mention performers in Zelly Muhammad and Addison Miller. Next will be Coach Height to talk about our football players.
Thank you. This year we had a really tough district because we decided every district does it differently. We decided not to do second team. So for our district, the awards were very far and very tough to come by. But we were glad to have at least 7 guys be able to get awards this year. For first team, we had Mason Bogan. Second team was Joey Thomas. Or first team, Joey Thomas, excuse me. And then our last first team was Cale Perrette. And then we had 4 honorable mentions: Brady West, Holden Phillips, Bryson Ansel, he's in the back over there, and Parker Taylor.
The final coach that I get to bring up here tonight, I want you to look up at the screen and pay close attention to his name up there because he was awarded the 2023 MAC Coach of the Year. That's Jeff Dietz.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that I also mention our assistants, John Daly and Bill Josen, who do as much work as I do. Probably more, but also the kids, because that's really just a team award and it just puts my name on it. So I just want to make sure I mention that, and also congratulations to all of you guys. This is super impressive. I also would really like to introduce Leo Fiskus, who was an honorable mention all-conference golfer this year for the MAC.
That'll do it for North. I just want to say thank you and congratulations to everybody. What a fantastic night. Thank you.
Next up is Kevin Peterson from Davenport Central.
All right, thank you for having us tonight. Once again, Davenport Central had a great summer and a great fall. We're really excited to recognize these athletes. We do have some coaches that are gone for other coaching opportunities and just couldn't make it tonight. First up, for baseball, Coach Giesel couldn't make it tonight. Our first team representative was Thomas Johnson. He's off to college. Second team, we had Wyatt Hillier and Maddox Sullivan. I know Maddox is at basketball practice, so that's why he's not here. Honorable mention, I saw one of them here. We have Ty Harmson, Charlie Woolridge, and Declan Swan. For cross country, we are going to bring up, where's softball at? Missed a page. Yeah, that's all right. We'll get to it. All right, we'll get that, I promise. Next, we'll have cross country come up. We have Coach Mike Trujillo.
We had two All-MAC conference competitors this year. Dylan Moeller. For Dylan, this is her 3rd time in a row of being All-MAC. She's a junior. And her sister, Sloan Moeller, a freshman. Although I'm not the boys coach, TJ Pearson couldn't be here tonight. Neither could our two boys who were all MAC. They're both basketball players, Zach Ryan and Tyler Ryan. Zach is a freshman, Tyler's a junior. And as you can see up there, Zach joined JC at state, one of only 9 freshmen in the entire state of Iowa to go to state as an individual. And Dylan Moeller also qualified for state, second time in a row. First time that's been done from Central, at least in 23 years, I think, back-to-back state qualifier. And our coach of the year was our boys coach, TJ Pearson, not coach of the year.
All right, Tammy got me confused there because she went from summer to fall back to summer, so we're good now. All right, so next we're going to recognize our softball all-conference. First, we had for honorable mention, Bianca Shorter. Should I say your nickname? She wants me to. Next, we have Kiki Barron. And then we also had Marin Crowder, who's off at St. Ambrose now. For MAC Volleyball All-Conference, we had 2 members. We had Madison Vanderleest. And then our next one is at basketball as well, Ellie Linehan. Next for football, we have Coach Alex Berg here. He'll come up and introduce them.
All right, super excited to announce these guys that put in a lot of hard work and effort, and really proud of their performance on the field. So for first team, we had 2 guys on our defense, defensive lineman Waleed Bacho. And linebacker Davion Williams. Honorable mention, he is at wrestling practice, but running back Jake Jancy. Wide receiver Shane Hagedorn. Kicker punter Jackson Jays. And then he is at work, but DB Jay Sean Everidge. Thank you.
All right, next up we have our MAC All-Conference Golf, and what's not listed up here is Brody Meigel was also our city champ, best golfer in the city. And also second team All-Conference as well. You can stand back up again, Brody. Okay, next we have a long list here. If you didn't know or you haven't seen in the papers or anything, our girls swim team had an amazing season this year. We'll get to all their accolades. We'll start with what they did all conference. Coach Heller really wanted to be here, but he's down picking up his oldest daughter from the University of Kansas. They got done today, so he's driving 12 hours in a car today. So he would rather be here, trust me. First off, for the 200 medley relay, first team, we had Hannah Cousins, Isabel Heller, Gabby Hansen, and Simone Green. If you're here, stand up. We got 3 out of 4. That's not bad. For the 100 butterfly, we had honorable mention Lauren Valeroy. I saw her here. Second team, Gabby Hansen. And first team, Hannah Cousins. For the 200 individual medley, second team, we had Abby Selden. And first team, Isabel Heller. For the 100 freestyle, we had 2 first teamers, Mary Selden and Simone Green. For the 50 freestyle, honorable mention, Lauren Valeroy. And first team, Simone Green. For the 500 freestyle, honorable mention, Hannah Ford. And first team, Olivia Hopewell. Got to turn the page. We're still going. For the 200 freestyle relay, the team of Abby Selden, Isabel Heller, Lauren Valeroy, and Mary Selden were first team all-conference. Some of them got to stand right back up. For the 400 freestyle, with the team of Simone Green, Hannah Cousins, Abby Selden, and Mary Selden were first team. For the 100 backstroke, second team, we had Gabby Hansen. And first team, Hannah Cousins. For the 100 backstroke, honorable mention, Abby Selden. And first team, Isabel Heller. Now, on top of all those accolades, we also finished the season MAC champs, 6-0 as a team. All of you stand up. All of you stand up. I know he's upset he's not here to hear it, but we also had the MAC Coach of the Year, Brian Heller. And we also had the MAC Swimmer of the Year, Mary Selden. We also had quite a few girls qualify for the state contest. So I'll read your name and stand up while I read your accolades. You might be standing a while. First, Abby, why don't you stand up? Abby Selden. In the individual medley, she was 4th at regionals, 17th in the state. She was part of the 200 free relay that was 2nd at regionals and 5th at state. And she was part of the 400 relay that was regional champions, 2nd in state, and had a new school record. Abby Selden. Hannah's not here, but I'll read Hannah Cousins' accolades. She was part of the medley relay, which were regional champions. In the 100 fly, she was regional champion and got 2nd in the state. In the backstroke, she was the regional champion and got 2nd in the state. And in the 400 relay, she was part of the team that was regional champion, 2nd in state, and the new school record. Next up, Gabby Hansen. She was part of the medley relay that was regional champion. In the 100 fly, she was 5th at regionals, 18th in state. And in the backstroke, she was 6th at regionals and 24th in the state. Next, we have Hannah Ford. In the 200 free, she was 8th at regionals and 32nd in the state. And in the 500, she was 7th at regionals and 29th in the state. Next, we have Isabel Heller. She was part of the medley relay that was regional champions. She was in the individual medley. She was 2nd at regionals and 3rd at state. She was part of the 200 free relay that was 2nd at regionals and 5th in state. And in the breaststroke, she was the regional champion and got 5th at state. Next, we have Lauren Valeroy. She was part of the 200 free relay that was 2nd at regionals and 5th at state. Next, we have Mary Selden. I'm good. Yeah, I might need that. In the 200 free, she was regional champion. She was 3rd in the state and broke the school record. In the 100 free, she was regional champion, 5th in the state, and also broke that school record. She was part of the 200 free relay that was second at regionals and fifth at state. And she was part of the 400 free relay, which was regional champions, second in the state, and broke the school record. Next, we have Olivia Hopewell. In the 200 free, she was 6th at regionals and 21st at state. And in the 500, she was 3rd at regionals, 11th in the state, and broke the school record. I need a drink. All right, next we have Simone Green. Simone was part of the medley relay that was regional champion. She was in the 50 free, she was the regional champion, and she finished 13th in the state. In the 100 free, she was 3rd at regionals and 19th in the state. And she was part of the 400 free relay that was regional champions, 2nd in state, and broke the school record. And as you can see from these accolades, that all amounts to a 3rd place finish in the state of Iowa. All you girls stand up. And they'll be the first to tell you that all the other girls on the team help push them every day, and they're all a part of that as well. And as you can see up there, not only did Coach Heller get MAC Coach of the Year, him and Mike Wells, who's the assistant, were voted coaching staff, state coaching staff of the year. And like Coach Mosier said, congratulations to all of you. This is awesome that we do this. And once again, like TJ said, you guys have great parents. They're the ones who have gotten you to everything. They're the ones who get you up in the morning to make sure you get to lifting and practice. So make sure that you give them a big hug and thank them for everything they do. Thanks again, guys.
All right, so I am going to fill in for Michelle tonight since she can't be here with us. And we will start Davenport West. Coach John Charles is filling in for Coach Scott Beatty.
Hello? Louder than I thought. First of all, let's all wish Coach Beatty the best. He just had a hip replaced last year. Then he got his other one replaced last week. And then they've seen some complications with something that was done. So he's just fine right now. He's out. He got through the surgery the second time. They fixed him, I guess. He told me he'd never be fixed, and I understand what he said. Okay. This year, honorable mention, we had Brady Hansen, Brent Haynes, Ashton Kutcher. I cannot ever say Hazlett. It's always got to be Ashton Kutcher. Brady and Brent were seniors last year, so they're playing football up in college. And Mr. Kutcher, Mr. Hazlett, has got a heck of a next year ahead of him because he's got so much ability that we're going to push him really, really hard. And he's going to have to put up with it. Right, Ash? All right. Thank you.
Next, we have Coach Erica Ralphs for softball.
All right, hello. Good to see everyone. All four of my girls are here. We had a great season and very lucky to have this group of girls for my first season taking over the program. They really held the standard high, and I see nothing but great things for them in the future, and I'm unbelievably proud of all of you. Okay, so second team, we have Aubrey Gradine. Go ahead, stand up, Aubrey. Awesome. And then the next three got honorable mention. We have Hannah Mitchell, Reagan Ware, and Madison Sparks. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Coach. Next up, Coach Dominic Nunn for football.
Thanks for having us out tonight. This is a great honor, especially as my first year as a head coach, to have both these athletes and my staff receive a little recognition. These young men, as well as my staff, work extremely hard as an off season, putting in a ton of work. So greatly appreciative for all players, all families, and all coaches that could help me out tonight. First, I want to call out, stand up, Jordan Tate, Offensive Player of the Year for Matt. Mr. Zane Feldman, Defensive Player of the Year. Mr. Jaden Metter, First Team All-MAC. Last but not least, coming back, helping us out this year too, Mr. Landon Pillard, First Team All-MAC. Second team, we're going to miss his leadership. We're going to miss him a whole lot. Our starting quarterback, Luke Matson. Honorable mention, Mr. Will Evans. Marvin Neely. And Jesse Slider. Thank you.
Don't go very far. Stay right here. And as you can see, our MAC Coaches of the Year was the West coaching staff. Head coach Dominic Nunn, Brian Schutte, Riley McIntyre, Brady Sims, Jim Crandall, Alexander Dearborn, Lavelle Figs, Aiden Fix, Logan Lira, Owen Ridenour, and Ethan Jacobson. If you guys are here, please give us a wave. Congratulations, Coach. The volleyball coach was unable to be here with us tonight, and I have some notes here. Let's see. So, yeah, Coach Gresh was unable to be here, but she spoke very highly of both players that I'm going to mention who received honorable mention for the MAC. Rachel Ehlers. And Sydney Westeroff. Congratulations to all of our student athletes and coaches. Thanks again, parents, for being there for your kids, bringing them to their events, and supporting DCSD. I am going to now turn it over to Superintendent Schneckloff, who would like a picture with all of the athletes and the board. So, athletes, come on up. You want to go north? Okay. Davenport North students who are here. TJ, do you want me to take it? TJ, you want me to take it? Thanks again, everyone, for coming. And we beat the 6:15 deadline. Yes.
Thank you, student athletes. We appreciate how you represent your schools. We'll move on to the presentation of at-risk dropout prevention. I'll turn it over to the superintendent.
This is our annual presentation of our at-risk dropout prevention programming. This is going to be brought for an official vote in January, but I'm sure our team's going to get into that. I'll turn it over to Courtney Olson.
All right, good evening. I'm going to first introduce my team here tonight. I'm going to start with Heather Harlan. She is our budget specialist for our at-risk dollars. Jen Van Fleet, she is our specialist for state and federal programs. Lisa Baxter is our program director for equity and learning supports, and Rachel Ivory is our specialist for equity and learning supports. Okay, yep. All right, so I just want to start as we kick off this presentation to ground us in the why of our work, and that's to design a pre-K-12 continuum of services within our system that meets the academic and social, emotional, behavioral needs of our at-risk students in an effort to ensure high school graduation and a productive, hopeful vision for their post-secondary life. So this work, we're really grounding ourselves within our district excellence goals of our district graduation rate and chronic absenteeism. So you'll see on this slide, these are our goals within our district growing excellence plan. But just as I mentioned in the previous slide, this work touches everything, right? This work is not one-dimensional. All of this work is to help students be successful in all areas. This visual may look familiar. Our team brought this to you last year just to really paint the picture of our goal was to be very intentional in the programs we were developing to create our system. And so when we came to this time last year, we didn't know what that was going to look like yet, but we were asking permission to ask for the dollars, and you guys so graciously gave us that permission. And then we were able to give you an update of the plan that we had. So today we'll give you an update where we're at and where we're going. And that red circle just highlights kind of the constant continuous improvement cycle we're in, where we have our goals, we're going to design, we're going to cascade, we're going to implement, and we're going to evaluate those plans. This is an overview of what we're going to lead you through tonight, just explaining modified allowable growth, how at-risk is defined in our state and within our district. We're going to take you through the continuous improvement process of where we're at and where we're going, and that includes our roadmap. Finally, this is just illustrating the cascade that we've done with this information to date, where we've gone to principals, cabinet, DSAT, and we're here with you all today. So now I'm going to pass it over to Jen Van Fleet.
Good evening. About this time last year, we came to you and with similar slides to define what the state, what the Department of Education in Iowa, and what we locally define as at-risk and dropout prevention. So what you see on this slide is the Iowa code definition. And again, we want to focus that these are programs for our most at-risk students, secondary students who attend alternative programs and alternative schools, and our returning dropouts and dropout prevention work. And this includes us coming every year as a requirement for that annual request for the modified supplemental amount for funding the programs. When we look at closer at that state language, what this includes, we're looking at factors such as homelessness, dropouts, returning dropouts, potential dropouts, and then just alternative programming for the students who need that. Our Iowa Department of Education defines that further and indicates that we can decide locally what those specific indicators are that put students at risk. So in Davenport, we use these factors to define what at risk looks like and where we want to go with those students. So we frame this around academics, attendance, emotional safety, and graduation rates. Those should be familiar to all of us. They're ingrained in our Growing Excellence plans, and they are infused throughout our work. And so throughout all of this, Courtney recognized on the previous slide that we're in a continuous improvement loop. So with our large goals on a large scale, but then in just everyday conversations, we're always looking through these steps to figure out what's our next good work, collaboration, or step to put in place for our students. So currently, we want to share with you a little bit about where we are right now in step one, determining the current state. We're going to focus tonight on our data around attendance and graduation rates. We know that previously this school year, you've had some data presented to you on our academics and emotional safety. So just a reminder, attendance through these metrics are measured with the average daily attendance and also chronic absenteeism. And then our graduation rates are measured through the 7th through 12th grade dropout rate and a 4-year graduation rate. So we're going to look at all 4 of those pieces. This time last year, we brought this data slide to you, and we said, this is not where we want to be. We want to redefine this program, this continuum of supports, and start to move these numbers in a more preferable direction. And so what we have right now is the updated data for this year. So the ADA and the chronic absenteeism is accurate through just a few days ago when I pulled that. The graduation rates and dropout rates, you'll note, are a lagging little bit. The most recent data we have is from the Iowa School Performance Profile. We'll have that update in a few months here, what that looks like. So we'd be happy to bring that back. But you do see one more year of information on those 2 graphs there. So when you look closer at what does this data tell us, these are some things that our team noticed. For graduation rate and dropout prevention, we noticed that graduation rate had declined by 0.65%, that dropout rate had increased by 1.72%, and that we have not yet met the district growing excellence goals for graduation rate and dropout rate. But again, we want to note the most recent data on this slide is from the 21-22 school year, so we haven't seen the impact of our work yet for the 22-23 school year. We should have that data here pretty soon. For average daily attendance and chronic absenteeism, you'll see that our average daily attendance has increased by 3.5%, and chronic absenteeism is dropping significantly and at a faster rate since we implemented specific attendance initiatives this year. We are on track for meeting our district growing excellence goal for chronic absenteeism.
All right, so now Lisa is going to walk us through the next part of sharing what we've put into place so far, and then the feedback we've gotten from our leaders around strengths and next steps. Rachel will share.
So next slide, please. Our team established 3 main goals for our work this year. This revolved around examining current positions and programs, exploring new roles and programs, and being clear on the funding necessary to sustain our system for the long haul. Based on feedback And through our continuous improvement process, we revise the roles of our family support liaisons, our mentoring engagement specialists, redirection programs, and our at-risk teachers. Currently, each are in different stages of revision and development as we reimagine the potential for these positions and programs. We also established 2 new roles and a new program this year. Teacher in charge positions were added at the secondary level, and behavior intervention strategists were placed in every building. Additionally, we started a program called Bridges, which is housed at Mid-City for freshmen needing additional support as they transition into high school. And lastly, we closely examined multiple budgets that had become diluted over the years. We cleaned this up and in many cases braided multiple funding streams to support and sustain the following programs and professional development that we are committed to sustaining. And you'll see that list at the bottom. LifeSpace is a crisis response modality training for staff. Teach to Heal is professional development for staff. Character Strong, you'll recognize as our main social emotional learning curriculum. An evicted book study, our CPI training, which is crisis response and de-escalation training for our staff. It also supports our FSL, Family School Liaison Mentoring System, our CHAMPS training, which is Tier 1 classroom management for our teachers, our attendance initiative, our youth leadership teams, Mentors in Violence Prevention, which is a high school program in all 4 of our high schools, our Family Support Pantry, McKinley Dental Services, Restorative Justice, and Check and Connect, which is an evidence-based intervention for dropout prevention.
Okay, so based on those additions that Lisa just went over, we wanted to get principal feedback. So at each of our principals meetings, we asked them for current strengths of those programs that were implemented last year, and then some next steps. So this slide here just goes over some of those strengths. So as you can see on there, feedback for LifeSpace training ties directly to the behavior strategist. So very positive feedback regarding the implementation of that. And then also the family support liaisons, they're really providing a lot of resources to our families in needs. Could be gas cards, food cards, clothing, that sort of thing. So they are really pleased with the outcomes of having those family support liaisons and just revamping what their role looks like in the buildings. The next 3 bullets there, dollars are impacting the students directly, so positive impacts there. And then just looking at those long-term funding plans, making sure we're transparent with the funding and how we're spending that money. And then the last one, staff is able to meet the needs of students in the moment rather than delaying that support. And that ties directly back to that LifeSpace training and the behavior strategists. And then some next steps from our principals, just again, looking at providing additional behavior strategists if possible in the buildings, and that is also tied back to that LifeSpace crisis intervention training, wanting to get more people trained in that modality there. And then continue design at the at-risk continuum of programs. So what are we looking at as our continuum of supports across our district? Continued clarification of roles and duties involving the at-risk programs. So we have a lot of people in place, so just making sure that we are clear on the role of each of those different positions that we have in place. More people, we already talked about that one. Continuing to educate and be transparent for families in our community. And then just, again, looking at the funding of braiding those funding sources and how our supplemental at-risk opportunities can enhance students across the district.
In addition to all of these programs and roles that we've identified, something else that our team has prioritized is evaluating effectiveness of these roles and these programs. And so we've started on this journey, and our Q1 focus was around just making sure we had a point of contact for everything within our budget and our continuum, that there was team planning wrapped around that we're identifying intended outcomes, that we're going to have some type of data monitoring, and of course, we're looking at the results.
All right, so then we wanted to take all of that and look at where we go next from here. So we're here tonight. Our work is ongoing. And so this slide talks a little bit about what we do just as day-to-day business to keep that momentum going. So we are continuing to cascade and calibrate. We're going to principals, we're going to the cabinet, we're going to the school board. We're asking people when we're out in buildings, how are things going? Tell us more about that. And that information all comes back to our learning supports team. And we listen to that and we digest that and we figure out what does that mean for us. We are monitoring the goals and success criteria at a district level and then working with the building principals on how that's going for them and what tweaks might we help provide to course correct or to celebrate. And then we have some task teams that meet regularly. This is just a few. I'm sure we're missing some, but we have our learning supports team, which is what our at-risk team merged into. We meet a couple times each month. We have an attendance task force that meets regularly. We have a state federal programs team that's meeting regularly, and all of us are looking at all of this continuum from different perspectives to make sure everything's in alignment. When we look at reviewing our data to plan for next year, some things that our teams are talking about are looking at existing ESSER projects that we really think are important and how do we find homes for them in our MAG and at-risk budgets. We also look at ongoing stakeholder feedback. We look at, are we achieving equity and allocating all of our resources? Are we looking at this the right way for who needs what? And then we're looking at that ongoing attendance data, graduation data, and then also the academic data and the emotional safety data available to us. And then just to reiterate, we are continuously in this cycle. So at any one time, we might be engaging in any of this, and we're always coming back to the goals. So the goals are the goals. We want to meet those growing excellence goals, and our team takes ownership and responsibility for helping making sure that happens. So then we're going to come back to our original ask, which includes asking that annual request to our board for the modified supplemental amount for funding these programs.
So everything comes to money, right? That's where I come in. So at this time, we are asking the board to consider the request for MSA to the SBRC in the amount of $5,262,844. That is the amount that is our weighting for our district based on our enrollment and our at-risk population. Our district then will be matching that program to make it a whole program at $1,754,281.
So as we stated, we'll be back in January to get your official approval to request those dollars from the state. But now we'd like to open it up for any questions that you have around what we've shared tonight or where we're going.
Director Kleindro.
Sorry, I need some clarification on slide 3. It says graduation rate 76.8. I assume that's all students. And then it says the difference in graduation rate between Black students and all students will decrease from 9.3% to 0. But 60.8 and 76.8 don't equal 9.3. So I'm confused about your numbers.
So the data that we presented on the slide with the graphs is all students all together. So we did not break that down by demographic groups, which we do look at, but we didn't bring that here tonight. And so that might account for that.
But isn't the graduation rate 76.8 for all students?
So keep in mind too, and this is a little tricky, but we're waiting for the Iowa School Performance Profile update for last year's. So what we're using right now is for the first 2 years that you see on the data, that's directly or the first 4 years that you see on this data. That's right from the Iowa School Performance Profile, but we didn't want to come to you with stale data. So we're using Tableau from our live data poll. There's probably a little bit of discrepancy there because it's Tableau but that eventually gets fed to the state.
Okay, that doesn't make any sense to me in the difference in numbers, but okay.
I understand what you're saying on slide 3, that that's not adding up.
Right.
I'll get more information and I can put that in a report for you guys.
Okay. Slide 13. It says graduation rates are measured through 7 through 12 dropout rate. I didn't know a 7th grader could drop out. I thought you had to be 16 unless you're, you failed a whole bunch and you're still a 16-year-old 7th grader. Why is 7th grade in there?
That's a good question. That's the state's definition of dropout. So that came right from the code language, but we can look further into that.
But the state says they can't drop out till 16, correct?
I can't speak.
Yeah, so
Okay.
Yeah.
So 7 through 12 is a weird dropout rate if you can't drop out in 7th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And my last, this is more of a comment. I see that you got principal feedback. I don't see where the staff got feedback. Teachers, are these programs working? Are these bodies in the building helping you out? I would always like to see what the staff has to think about that.
Absolutely.
Break that down, but the building principals were going to take this back to their BSATs. So it's a combination of both, I believe. So, but we can look into that too. But the direction was to review these at your building level and then provide us with feedback and next steps based on your building district, your building student achievement teams, your BSAT teams.
Which also is a very small population. You aren't hitting everybody. So, thank you.
Director Hayes.
Director Klein Jerome hit on my first question regarding the percentages, but could you go into the Mid-City Bridges program? You talked about the 9th graders going to Mid-City. How are those 9th graders selected, and could you explain that a little bit more?
They were identified in the spring by their building teams and just identifying between grade performance, attendance, that just needing some additional creative support as they transitioned into their 9th grade year. So within that program, they entered as 9th graders this fall at Mid-City with specific supports wrapped around them. And yeah.
So then do they go back to their home school or they can choose to stay in the
Great
city?
question. So success criteria was set with grades and attendance. And then if they met that criteria, then they have the option to go back to their home school or option to stay at Mid-City. And I believe 9 of the 12 met the criteria. And so had made that choice to either go or stay, which was very exciting. And then the ones who have not been successful is still problem solving and getting creative of how we can support them and help figure out how they can find success in high school.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Barney, would you add anything?
No, the only thing that I would add is when we were looking at that criteria of entering into the program, these were students who over the last 2 years, 7th and 8th grade, passed no core classes over that window of time and had that chronic absentee rate. So they were some of our least successful students in both those academic measurements. And the exciting part is that we had the majority of them successfully navigate into that second quarter and third quarter to be able to do something different.
Could I add one other thing, that we actually reached out to students in 8th grade early in the year that were meeting the criteria and met with families, met with students and said, hey, right now, for the last year and a half, you have demonstrated a lack of engagement, both by your academics and your attendance. And so at this point, you're looking at a potential, what we're calling a Bridges program. I couldn't tell you the exact number, but it's about double that 12 or 15. It was more like 30, and about 18 of them, whoa, I'm not going to be able to get to go to high school. And so that was the catalyst to light a fire under most of them. So we whittled that number from 30-ish to 12, and then that 12 down to 3. So just wanted to give, it wasn't a pull the rug out from under you, haha, you don't get to go to high school. More like, hey, we're trying to get you ready for high school and you haven't demonstrated that yet. So you've got until the end of the third quarter to kick it in gear so we can see if you're ready. So we wanted to share that too.
Director Beck.
I have a follow-up to that and then also my own questions. So what happens to those students if they chose not to do this program and they just continued on their path? Like, do they go to a high school?
This was not an optional opportunity. This was their opportunity. We would be in malpractice if we had just said, head on to high school. We know that you've failed everything over the last 2 years and haven't shown that growth. So this was their opportunity to enter into high school with these supports.
Okay. I guess I'm just like, I'm just kind of trying to figure out what happens if somebody just completely opts out and says.
It wasn't an opportunity this year.
Okay.
And we, the goal of the program is wrap supports around them. So really working with parents and students to understand that this is a benefit to you, and you're getting extra by taking advantage of this opportunity that we're giving you.
Okay.
If you think about it, the alternative would be to remain in 8th grade and do 8th grade over again. So the opportunity to be able to move forward and move into high school with a successful plan in place. Yep.
Okay. Thank you. So my 2 questions. Well, first of all, I wanted to say yay on the decreasing chronic absenteeism. That's awesome. Can you tell me a little bit about what a behavior intervention strategist does? Like on an average day, what exactly does that person do? What is the role of that person?
So that person is heavily trained in life-based crisis intervention modality. And so their main role is to respond to students when they're in crisis, when they're highly dysregulated. They are trained to be able to de-escalate that student, gain that student's perspective of what was going on from their perspective, help them get insight into why they were thinking that way, feeling that way, and then help them build new skills of what they could do differently. So they are trained to do this with any kid within our buildings. But as you can imagine, they do develop certain frequency with certain students. And so they just serve some of our most at-risk kids who get dysregulated more frequently and implement this evidence-based intervention with them.
And does that lead to, say, recommendations to the school counselor or to external programming, if that's...
Yes, great question. So they're kind of, we say, in the pocket intervention, but to be even more proactive, they'll make connections to school-based therapists, school counseling, student intervention team, whatever that might be.
Okay. So my last question is based on, so I know that we approve this, and the way the resolution's written, we have to approve it. But just for people who aren't as familiar with it, the amount of money that you're asking for this year, how much more is it than last year? And also, can you explain a little bit about how this is money that we have to spend or we have to approve, and how it fits into the whole concept of school budget, because it's not like a regular fund or pot of money.
Correct, and I'll defer to the CFO for some things, but so this is what we call an MSA. So this is extra money on top of what you get per student. So we know that the per pupil allocation is somewhere around $7,900. This would be a 0.05 weighting on top of that. And so the increase follows that allowable growth amount. So I think off the top of my head, in comparison, it's a couple $100,000 more than last year, which would be about that 3% growth. They are categorical funds, so you're right. They are not general population money. These are allocated based on the fact that we are a high-risk district, and we can max that dollar amount, and so that's what we're doing. We're saying we are asking to get all of the MSA to support our students that are at risk, and that's a high number in our district. So, and yes, they have to be spent within the school year. They don't carry over, and so that's what I do. I work with the team to ensure that the staff fits the budget and that we are in compliance in all areas. Kevin, did I miss anything? Nope.
No, you're not missing anything. You'll see when we get into a 5-year projection, it has that approximately $5.2 million in there. For us to put a budget together for that, what they're presenting tonight and what you're going to approve the first meeting in January will be the number that gets put into our budget that will, as a whole, large piece. So we'll be able to share that then. There is a maximum, and that is where we want to be because we have enough need for that. So that's what our projection is going to be.
Director Poston.
Do you have any trouble filling the position for the behavioral interventionist? That hasn't been a problem.
Not at all.
Okay. On slide 16, when you look at the roles and programs, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think some of these have been supported by ESSER dollars. Is that correct? Is that all outside of ESSER?
None of this has been funded out of ESSER. Now, we do have other roles that are sitting in ESSER that we will be beginning to identify how to bring them back in, but not these listed here are in ESSER.
So this, so this $5 million, will that help ease some of that away from ESSER, or is this not covering that part of it?
That will be our budget, what we work within, where we have to continue what we've already put into our system, as well as a few positions that are still in ESSER. So that's what our job will be, to make that all work in our budget.
So will you have to drop some programs?
We're not looking at that currently.
McKenna?
Hi. As well as being a student, I also work in the attendance office during one of my blocks. So I'm a co-op student, and I see attendance firsthand. And I work in their first block. First, I have a comment. I see the behavioral intervention strategist that happens in our school. And Director Beck, I do see that a lot of students will come in and they will go and meet with her, and they will come back out very calm and have built relationships with her, and it really does work. And they have found their way to either go back to class, or if they do need to go to ISS or in-school suspension, that will happen, but they seem a lot more at a calmer demeanor, and it does seem to work from what I see. So in case you would want to see it from a student perspective. As well as the attendance side, are you guys planning on expanding this to like chronic tardies at any sort of time? I know that I see a lot of kids that come in with tardies a lot every single day. I've seen a lot of the same names, and I just wonder if this program will ever expand out to that.
Thank you so much for that commentary from a student perspective, because that's very validating and reaffirming that we're on the right track to know that you're witnessing that as a student. So thank you for that. And absolutely, we have a district-wide attendance team that talks way too much about this stuff, but tardies has been a part of that conversation. And what's the best way to measure? What do we go after? And we do know at the high school level, tardies and skipping is a piece of the puzzle. And so we are having those conversations. Thank you.
Any other information board members need to vote on this at the first regular meeting in January? Superintendent.
I just have to comment on this team that's here before you. They had, over the last 2.5, 3 years, have taken this budget, turned it around, tied it to measurable goals, and every penny's accounted for, and we're maximizing everything in here. I'm really proud of this team. I know some of the things come and go, but there's best practices in here, and it's going to work, and some of it already is. And so I'm just really proud of this team that's come together. They work really hard at this.
Thank you. The only question I was going to ask was about the tardies, but thank you for that, because so many tardies add up to a whole day, right? So I'm glad to hear that that is going to be woven into that. Thank you for the presentation, and we will move on. Student board reports. Who wants to go first tonight?
This past week, we had our boys and girls first home game that they got together. We had our Jamilin Gardner Memorial at that game, and we were all very proud of the turnout that we were able to have at the game. The girls' varsity game was a very close game between Davenport Central and Davenport West, and ended in West losing by just 1 point. So it was really a thriller, and I think a lot of people had fun. Our varsity game came out very exciting, very strong for West, and in the middle of the third quarter, when West was up by 20, the power went out. And that was really something that was really unique, and the game was postponed, but a lot of people really took it as a sign that Jamilin was there with us and had definitely something to do with those shenanigans. I also want to highlight our boys swim team, who's currently 2-1 in duels. Despite with having troubles with their pool this year, they beat UT with a score of 109-40 and beat Muscatine with a score 79-76. And Falcon swimmer Eric Ding has currently broke 2 school records, the 20 IM and the 100 breaststroke, and is currently ranked number 1 in the state for the 20 IM. They take on Rock Island this Thursday at home, hopefully, and they are looking to extend their winning streak.
This beginning month, we opened our show, James and the Giant Peach, and it was a success. Cast and crew alike learned a lot from the show and are excited to show or come up for their upcoming spring production. Wes is also proud of our freshman Caitlin Lee for being selected to play in the Southeastern Iowa Strong Teacher Association Honor Orchestra. We cannot wait to see what she does for the program. Furthermore, our girls bowling is celebrating their undefeated streak with a win over North Scott last week.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ethan Cepeda from Davenport North. Before I start the report, I would first like to give recognition to an outstanding Wildcat student in our music department, where senior flutist Morgan Smith competed in the Quad Cities Symphony Orchestra Youth Ensemble competition last weekend, where she finished with the title of first runner-up in the competition. This means she will also be conducting a performance with the Youth Symphony Orchestra at the finale concert in May. But anyways, looking at what is happening right now at North High School, there's an exceeding amount of events that help reinforce a helping hand to those in need this holiday season. For one, next Monday, North Student Council will be hosting their annual blood drive, where any student that is at least 16 or older has the opportunity to donate their blood for good causes. If there are any students interested in helping us reach our donation goal of 32, registration forms will be available in the IMC with our librarian. Another event that is supporting a great cause would be our JOI Club's Trivia Night competition, which is set to take place this Wednesday, December 13th. Families and students alike can participate in a fun and friendly team building competition with a prize for the best performing team. The cost to enter per person is $10, and concessions will be sold at the event as well, all with the purpose of supporting the University of Iowa's Children's Hospital this holiday season. There are many spots still open to participate in this competition, so if you're interested, consider signing up today. One other date that is important to note during this sometimes costly Christmas season is that North will be hosting its food pantry this Thursday, December 14th from 9:30 to 11 a.m., where Wildcat students' families in need can have the opportunity to receive food. All you need to do is pull up to the back of the school and find the doors labeled 15N and 29N, and somebody will be available to bring you food to your car. Along with these fundraisers and drivers to help our community, we also have some upcoming fundraisers to help support the school. For those of you interested in supporting our joint efforts with Central to fund a prom after party, fear not, for we have 2 opportunities this upcoming week to show your support. One of these events is our gift wrapping that will take place at North Park Mall from December 15th to the 22nd, where the times available would then be 5 to 7 p.m. on Monday through Friday, and 12 to 5 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday. During these times, students will be available near the food court and be ready to wrap any gifts you might have this year, where pricing is based on the size of box you desire. So not only will you be able to skip out on one of the more tedious tasks during the holidays, but you will also be able to show your support to our after-party procedures. Along with this, The Attic, which is a craft store located on North Brady Street, will be offering 10% of its sales on December 16th towards this fundraiser. Then we cannot talk about North without bringing up the action going on in our drama department. Last Saturday, December 9th, our Drama Youth Workshop put on their performance of Seussical Jr. in what was a very cool opportunity for those available. But looking to the future, the drama department has already started their work on our spring musical of choice, Something Rotten, where the preliminary auditions start this Wednesday, December 13th at 4:30 p.m. Students can expect to sing song cuts from the musical and start learning choreographic aspects of the musical as well. There are also two important reminders that need to be mentioned for the families at Wood Intermediate, which is our primary intermediate feeder school. The drama department at Wood will be performing their winter musical, Puss in Boots, tomorrow in the cafeteria at 6 p.m. Also, the boys basketball and swimming teams from Wood will start their practices after winter break ends. Thus, the sign-up forms are now out and available on Wood's website or their parent hub. And seeing as that is all the information I've gathered, that ends my report.
Hello, my name is Jack Stremlow. I'm from Davenport Central. And we've got some exciting holiday fundraisers coming up because we know that the holidays can be financially stressful for a lot of families at our school. So just last week, the Davenport Central leadership team kicked off their annual holiday dinner box collection with a football team versus teachers volleyball game. The program collects monetary and food donations to provide holiday dinners for families in need. Along with the dinner boxes, Central also began our annual Angel Tree donation drive where students can volunteer to purchase holiday gifts for their fellow students and their families. The Central Student Council also just hosted a very successful blood drive. They filled all available donation appointments. And we've also had some recent athletic success. The boys varsity swim team placed second at the Davenport West Invitational, competing against Clinton, West, Burlington, Bettendorf, and Muscatine. And the varsity girls and sophomore boys basketball teams both won over West last Friday evening. Thank you.
Thank you, student board members. We appreciate your reports. Way to rub that in and look right at her while you did it, too. Board reports. Director Hayes.
The board would like to offer our condolence and inadvertently missing, acknowledging Tammy Conrad losing her father. Also, we've lost Christine Hester, who was also a teacher in the district for many years, and Patricia Dixon, who is the wife of Laurel Dixon. She also passed, and her services will be this coming Friday. Visitation is Thursday.
Are there any other board reports? Oh, Director Poston.
I'd like to thank West AD Lillis and boys basketball coach, Coach Rob, for putting together the memorial at the last basketball game for Mai. Like McKenna mentioned, there was a great turnout for that. It was done quite well. And I will comment on the power going off during the third quarter. It wasn't a problem exiting the gym because when all the students put their camera lights on, it lit up the gym anyway. So,
Director Beck.
I was just going to say, I know a number of us attended the holiday concert with the combined orchestras from Central, North, and West, and also combined choirs, and it was a spectacular show. And our own superintendent read twice the night before Christmas and did a fantastic job for the first piece. So it was a great show, really interesting, and we have a lot of very talented students and staff.
You now know I can't keep time, so.
Are there any other board reports? I too attended the holiday concert, and I think the superintendent really got into it because he was starting to sing along as he was reading his parts. But we have a lot of amazing, talented kiddos up there, and to fit all of them on that stage and everything, they just did a phenomenal job like they do every year. And then I attended the Suzical Junior play at North. I went both days, the ones getting to see the younger kids try out. That's awesome that they do that program because then it gets some of the younger kids really involved. And two of my kiddos did it, and my oldest was actually in the play as well. So those they did an awesome job, and especially the stage hands getting everything moved around on the stage. They just it was like going to a real show. So with that, before we go to communications, I'm going to take a quick break, 5 minutes, and then we'll come back. All right, we're back. We'll move on to communications. There are no requests for open forum tonight. I do want to notate that during open forum on November 27th, I allowed someone to speak negatively about an individual employee during open forum remarks. I should not have allowed that, and will guard that closely in the future. I want to apologize to the individual and the public for letting that happen. We will move on to the consent agenda. May I have a motion on the consent agenda?
Mr. President,
Director Hayes.
I move the board accept the consent agenda as written.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Director Klein Jerome.
Yes, I would like, and I'm going to vote for it anyway, but I would like some information about the Strong Start grant refund to United Way that we are doing, and it can be sent out in the Friday report. Like, why are we sending it back? What was it for?
Is there any other discussion? Seeing and hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. Superintendent report.
Tomorrow in this room, we will be hosting a poverty summit sponsored by the Davenport School District. We have over 50 local elected officials coming in to participate in this, and different community members. It's going to be a great opportunity for us to raise awareness of some of the things that our students and family members go through, but also allow us to unify different organizations and best ways to support our families. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Committee reports. Policy Committee.
We did not meet this month, and in January we'll start reviewing the 200 series.
Thank you. Elziak.
We won't be meeting again until January.
Okay, thank you. Nothing new to report on legislative advocacy other than a meeting with the Bluegrass Mayor tomorrow night and Walcott Mayor Thursday night. And then we'll be working on getting our breakfast and lunch coming up with the local legislators. Long-range facilities planning. You weren't at the meeting, so I can't have you. Do you have anything you want to add on it? Just pretty much went over the plan and what we had went over at the last board meeting a little more so. And then some game plans on putting some signage out in the areas to promote what we're doing so folks know that we're not closing schools, we're doing it to provide better junior high facilities for our students. All right, Finance Committee.
We met last week and reviewed the five-year financial projection, which Kevin will be bringing to us after a while.
Kevin, you want to go ahead and give that report, and then I'll do the committee assignments after.
Okay, no problem.
Oh, hold on. Turn it over to the superintendent. Sorry.
Sorry, thank you. No, Kevin's going to hit this, but I think we need to continue to say this. One of the main reasons why we look at projections like this is because it's not the level of dollars that we have, it's the leveling of dollars that we have. And Kevin, and the tools that he has, we have the ability to forecast, okay, if we make this decision, what does it look like in 2029? What does it look like in 2028? And it allows us to know the critical pivot points that we have all along the way. We obviously can't make the decisions for right now, next year, and the year after based on what's going to happen in 2030. But at least we need to have an idea to look down the road and see what is the leveling of our funds in two critical categories that Kevin's going to talk about. And I will tell you, this is to arrive at this 5-year projection that we have. The cabinet has worked tirelessly to say, is it this position? Is it this strategy? And we put those into this projection because we want to ensure that we are financially stable. It's not the level of money we have right now; it's the leveling of over the years, and that's why this is a critical step. So, with that being said, Kevin, take it away. And I know I just stole some of your thunder, but I really wanted to reiterate that that is something that we are working really hard to maintain is always on our dashboard.
No, you're exactly right. What we do each year is we use some key assumptions. One of the things we learned a long time ago, especially during our downside, is we have to make reasonable, anticipated projections based on some key variables. And so the first thing I want to go through on our 5-year projection is where we were at with the key assumptions that we made. So Brenda, if you'll open that key assumptions tab. So I highlighted several things, and what you'll see here is for FY25 for the certified enrollment, that is our actual enrollment decline. That's actual. If you remember, our count from October is for next year. It's a flaw in the funding formula. We're in arrears, if you will. So schools increase in enrollment, they'll get some additional funding, but it won't be till the following year. But this is our actual enrollment decline. So projecting for 26 through 29, we estimated a 300 student decline. On the served enrollment, you'll see a negative 450 there. That is the minus 300 plus losing another 150 kids to open enrollment out. That's a conservative number. It's a large decline. But if you see what is happening in our open enrollment out, it isn't out of line of where we would be. Will that hold for the next 4 years? I don't know. But we have to start somewhere that's a reasonable expectation. Those are two major factors that drive our budget. The other is the state supplemental aid. We have a 3% and then a 2% for FY 26 through 29. That's not unreasonable. And I will say this about that. That percentage really doesn't matter if we're dropping 300 kids. We're about a 2.7% decline in our enrollment, and we'll be on budget guarantee every one of those years. So if the state supplemental aid isn't above 3.7%, it's not going to matter. We will have the same amount of authority to spend money. I put cash reserve levy up there. That's to fill in for all of those things that the state doesn't fund for when we talk about in an upcoming agenda item about our SBRC request. Those are dollars we spent. We have to kind of fill the cash bucket back up, if you will, with dollars. And this is how cash reserve comes into play. I'll talk a little bit more about cash reserve when we look at the chart that I'm going to show you, and it helps. You'll see some solvency numbers. I'll talk about our key measures as well on another slide. And you see those three SBRC, and I jumped ahead on that, but those are SBRC amounts approximately of what we're asking for each year. We've already done our special ed. It was just under 5 million. We'll be doing our second of our ELL and our open enrolled out, not on prior year count. That's because we're being in arrears. We're paying for those students that we did not count now, but we won't see the dollars until next year. So we get on-time authority for those dollars. So those are those three supplemental amounts. If you'll scroll down a little bit, Brenda, to page 2, this is where when you lose students, you have to adjust your staffing. In 25, we've estimated approximately 10 teacher losses, and 26 through 29, 20 teacher losses each year that we would not have to carry as enrollment goes down. Whether that number's 20, 18, 22, it really isn't going to move the needle a lot, but this is a projection of where the kids are. You're going to lose kids at all levels, all grades, so it's not an exact science, but at least you have a target to shoot at to say we need to reduce our staffing by this amount. Everything will be done through attrition. It's not we're going to pink slip people, it's we will fill through attrition. We have plenty of staff that will have turnover that will be able to do that. And then we have some ancillary small amounts of additions and subtractions for each of the other groups. So those are our main key assumptions. I really want to get to where our key measures are. The visuals, yes. So when we put everything in there, you can see this first chart is our enrollment. You can see a slight decline. It's not really indicative of our decline, but when we have over 12,000 students, losing 300 isn't a huge number, but it's significant as far as our staffing is concerned. The orange is our UAB, and every month we talk about our projected UAB. This is what TJ mentioned just a minute ago about leveling of. You can see where our UAB used to be, and even before that time, it was below the line. You can see that we're doing a lot of leveling of in this assumption, in this model. So that's the major one that we really need to make sure that we have that leveling of, and that's what this model does. On the next, if you scroll up just a little bit more, what's in blue is our solvency ratio. This is the one that I've been struggling with and trying to make sure that it's not going the wrong direction. It's fine with that decline. It's just a matter of when we get closer to some more actual numbers, we'll reevaluate and focus on that. Two things that are going to affect both that UAB and this amount is if we have a lot of vacancies like we've had, all those numbers are going to progressively increase. So you'll see that chart rise a little bit more. Our hope is that we can fill all positions. This assumption assumes that we fill every position that we have. That last one is interesting because you can see we always talk about ESSER effect. We'll use that for a long time. That's our miscellaneous income. ESSER comes into play when you talk about miscellaneous income, and you can see the rise of ESSER and at the end of this year, it's gone. That's what changes things. When we talk about staffing, when we talk about stuff that we buy, everything in there, you can see how I've removed the ESSER from that projection. If you'll go to the key results tab, Brenda, and then I'm going to pause for a second. I wanted to show what happens to our fund balances in each of our funds. I highlighted that entire box because every one of those numbers are important. You can see our fund balance in the general fund goes from 48 million down to 17.8. 17.8 million is not a bad fund balance. That is where you saw our solvency ratio. That's going to change over time. 29 is a long ways out, and those assumptions are going to change every year that we get closer to that. The other funds that I think are important to look at this, you'll see our PEPL fund, about the fourth one down. You'll see it was at 23 million, and we're using it. We're doing projects. Josh is doing a really good job at getting projects going that we've been delaying for the past few years. There's a new fund called the Capital Projects Fund. When we borrow money and then we do our projects, that fund has money when we borrow the money in March that Suzanne talked about. That money's going to get dumped in there, and then as we do our project, that money's going to get spent down. The same is true about, you'll see our save funds. They're doing a similar thing. We're going to be starting to spend those dollars. There's more to come with that. And our debt service usually has been a balance of a little over $2 million. Now it needs to carry a balance of $12 to $14 million. This will depend on what happens when we sell our bonds. We have to have the amount for the next year in that balance. That's why you see about a $12 million balance in there. The other part I want to talk about just briefly is that total tax rate. The cash reserve does play a factor in that. The large majority of what you can control are the cash reserve. What they talked about, our dropout prevention is in that number. And you can see we are at $14.99 currently. In 5 years, we're going up an average of 10 cents a year in this model. One of the things that has happened, it's a variable that we don't know yet until we get our property valuations. Everyone talks about their property valuations going up so much. There's a lot of takeaways that come from that, like the rollback is much larger, so we don't have as much taxable valuation as we might think. So when in January, when we get our tax rolls, I'll be able to update this and be able to see where that number is on this assumption. This is just trying to blend that rate so that we don't have huge spikes or huge valleys. We're trying to keep it level, so your cash reserve can be a lever in that and to help control your fund balance. I want to pause at that point to see if there's any questions, and I want to show you one more slide. Okay, on the last slide, and there's a lot of numbers in there, so I don't expect you to look at it, but the UAB, this is the formula, and it's in summary format. Two things I want to point out. I highlighted the second row, which is a regular program budget adjustment. That used to be called the 101% budget guarantee. You can see I'm projecting that we're going to be on the budget guarantee with a 3 and a 2% state supplemental aid and losing 2.7%. That increases taxes. That goes on our tax rolls so that we are made whole to get 1% new dollars. I highlighted our SBRC amount, but one thing I want to focus on that I didn't highlight is right above those 3 lines that are highlighted for SBRC is dropout prevention. Since we had that presentation, you can see where those numbers are. Thank you, Brenda, for going across that. You can see that we were about 5.2 to 5.4 million. So when Heather mentioned about $200,000, you can see that number going across there. That goes into our funding formula for our authority to spend dollars. I put miscellaneous in. The 2 that I have to focus on the most is other miscellaneous income. That's all income from state and federal that is not in the above formula that we have to project. And that's where the ESSER funds go, the title funds, all of those different federal funds, and expenditures, trying to project where those expenditures. Those are the 2 that are the wild cards that trying to hit where we're going to be each year. And this just shows where, in a percentage basis, where a UAB is. where it's going, and we will be in that 7 to 17% range that we look at for all 5 years. So we are in good shape. It's just a matter of staffing, count, state supplemental aid, those factors that go in. Any questions?
Is that it?
The only other thing I'd add is there's a couple points that we put in there that I did not mention and that you cannot see on this. We made sure that we funded some extra dollars to go towards comprehensive schools for salaries and benefits, and we added budget for textbook adoption. So we have those items built into there so that we are not running short of dollars. And that's it.
Director Barnes.
Two quick questions. First, thanks. This is really helpful. I know that the potential long-term reductions in payroll and personnel, that you hope to achieve those through vacancy, through retirement, through resignation. Do we have any concern about mix? I mean, if we lost all sorts of third grade teachers and no 11th grade teachers, whether or not we have levers to pull there and still achieve that budget target? That's my first question.
Sure. So we have staffing protocols that we go through every year. So it's not, when looking at that 20, it would traditionally be through attrition. So those would be your voluntary resignations. We're not looking at layoffs or anything like that. And when we're going through staffing, we want to keep the people that fill the positions that we need. So a lot of times, if people are if they were to be negatively impacted, they're put into what we call a pool. And then based on their endorsements, they go and feed into positions that we need to fill.
Thank you. Second question I have is I appreciate that you went back to the whole idea that we're going to be funding textbook adoption, and that's built into the model. Is it also built into the model deferred maintenance for things like turf fields, which we're going to vote on and approve a little bit later today? And I think we all know that they have usually about a 10-year useful life. And I know this is only a 5-year projection, but is there deferred maintenance built in for some of these shorter term capital investments?
We'll have to do that, but that would not be within the general fund. When I was showing that UAB and that solvency, that has nothing to do with those funds that you're mentioning that they would come from. But to answer the short answer to that question is yes. This guy over here is going to have to figure out how, when things come, what to expect to put into those items. Now, granted, as we get new buildings, we can reallocate funds that maybe were tied to a Sudlow or a Smart, where we won't have those funds. They can be reallocated to do other things.
Any other questions? Does that conclude the Finance Committee report? Perfect, thank you. Committee assignments for this school year. First is the Finance Committee. I have Director Poston as the chair and Director Klein-Jerome on there as well. And then Legislative Advocacy, I have Director Poston and Barnes on there with myself, and I will chair that committee. Then LZAC, I have Director Beck as the chair and Director Barnes on that committee. And then Long Range Facilities Planning, I have Director Potts chairing that committee, along with Director Poston and myself. And then Policy Committee, I have Director Klein-Jerome chairing that committee, along with Director Beck and myself. And then the Poverty Committee, I have Director Hayes chairing that committee, along with Director Barnes and Beck. And that concludes the committee assignments. All right, we will move on to items requiring action. May I have a motion on the subject 11.01 SBRC request, limited English proficient instruction beyond 5 years? Director Poston.
Move the board approve the request to the School Budget Review Committee for modified supplement amount for limited English proficiency instruction beyond 5 years in the amount of $229,889.
Second.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing and hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. May I have a motion on 11.02 SBRC request open enrollment out, not on prior year's head count?
Mr. Chairman,
Director Poston.
move the board approve the request to the School Budget Review Committee for modified supplemental amount for open enrolled students in the 2023-24 school year, not on the certified enrollment the prior year, for $2,025,070.
Thank you. Is there a second? Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing and hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. May I have a motion on subject 11.03 environmental biology curriculum resource adoption?
Mr. President,
Director Beck.
I move the board approve the purchase of curriculum resources from Savas for environmental biology in the amount of $99,582.24 using ESSER funds.
Thank you. Is there a second? Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing and hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. May I have a motion on 11.04 curriculum resource purchase for high school earth science, space science, and cellular biology science courses?
Mr. President,
Director Beck.
I move the board approve purchase of curriculum resources from Houghton Mifflin Harcourt for cellular biology, earth science, space science, and honors biology in the amount of $238,249.44 using ESSER funds.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing and hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. May I have a motion on 11.05, the West High School Sawdust Collector?
Mr. President,
Director Beck.
I move the board award the West High Carpenter Classroom Sawdust Collector Replacement ESSER project to the lowest responsive bidder, Crawford Heating and Cooling Incorporated, in the amount of $271,300.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Director Poston.
Josh, there just one bid on that. Is this kind of a specialty deal that not too many people get involved with?
Yes, there was only one bid, I believe. If I had to just think into it a little bit, Crawford's already doing a lot of work at our locations, so they're already mobilized. So I'm guessing some people probably assumed they were going to be the lowest bidder and just didn't bid. But
Any other discussion? Seeing and hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. May I have a motion on 11.06 sale of Buchanan?
Mr. President,
Director Klein Jerome.
I move the resolution to approve agreement for sale of commercial real estate with Quad City Veterans Outreach Center for the purchase price of $825,000 for the sale of Buchanan Elementary located at 4315 North Fairmont Street, Davenport, Iowa.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing and hearing none, this will be a roll call vote. Director Klein Jerome.
Yes.
Director Hayes.
Yes.
Director Barnes.
Yes.
Director Potts. Yes. Director Poston.
Yes.
Director Beck.
Yes.
My vote is yes, motion carries. May I have a motion on 11.07, policies for board approval?
Mr. President,
Director Klein Jerome.
I move the board approve the following policies: 209.06, 305.22, 401.01, 502.13, 502.19, 502.20, 503.01, 503.02, 505.13, and 603.11.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Director Poston.
So a lot of these policies were completely eliminated, and are they going to show up in another policy then? Is that the
Yes, things like, let's say 502.13, it will be in an administrative handbook. So there will be the outline of how to handle it. It just won't be in our policy.
Is there any other discussion? Seeing and hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. We'll move on to discussion items. The first item for discussion is 12.01, conceptual physics, conceptual chemistry, honors physics, and honors chemistry, science courses, curriculum resource adoption. I'll turn it over to the superintendent.
Hello again, everybody. Melissa Trimble, the science specialist for the curriculum department, with the final piece of our puzzle for the high school textbook resource adoption. We went through the process, included all the teachers, and the reason this one wasn't presented with the last group was because it was such a narrow margin. We had to go back and really put it to its paces again to decide, is it this or that? And so now that we have that finalized, we are requesting the purchases from Houghton Mifflin Harcourt as outlined in the quotes.
Director Beck.
So, two questions. Number one, what were some of the reasons why it was such a close decision? And then my other question, which actually relates to the biology one as well, but I didn't think of it. Do consumables for labs, are those things at all included in textbook purchases, or is that a completely separate pot?
I'll do them in reverse order. Consumables are usually a separate entity, and the high schools are each given a budget each year to be able to purchase those different consumables. So in case of biology, the preserved specimens that we might need and the live specimens that we might need, chemicals for the classes and such. So those are dealt with as needed on an as needed basis by the buildings themselves. This really came down to a close enough vote between the final two contenders in a lot of senses because it was kind of a split 50-50. We had one building that felt very strongly one way, we had another building that felt very strongly another way. And I didn't feel comfortable making that final call. I wanted them to make it because they're the ones that are going to be using it in their classrooms. So when we went back with a finer tooth comb, we found that the Houghton Mifflin Harcourt resource that was decided upon actually did a better job with the NGSS standards and addressing them and calling them out and really attuning to them for the physical science courses. So with that in mind and knowing that that's where we need to be in order to hopefully increase those scores for the state testing, that's what the decision came down to.
Is there any other questions or any additional information board members would need before voting on this at the first regular meeting in January? Knocked it out of the park.
Thank
All right,
you.
we'll move on to 12.02, business pathway curriculum resource. I'm going to turn it over to the superintendent again, who's just going to...
Me again. So, Allie Vandermine, curriculum specialist for CTE. I'm here about the business pathway courses. So, just as a general reminder, we do have two business pathways. We have both accounting and marketing. So, this would be a resource adoption for both of them. So as you can see, this would be from Cengage Learning. The reason why the team picked this is more than half of our courses are actually also college courses and concurrently enrolled courses. So these are the approved textbooks that the EICC approves of as well. We decided to stay in that same house for our high school only credit courses just because it created some consistency for some students, as well as their online resources the teachers really like. So we stuck with that.
Director Barnes.
Just out of curiosity, you mentioned EICC and that this is their preferred resource. Do we get any type of pricing benefit by aligning with the community college? Is there any reference to that in our negotiation?
Not with aligning for community college. We do get a break because we're a K-12 institution as opposed to a college. So you'll see the discounted prices for us versus them.
But no sort of reference to the fact that we're aligning with a existing institution. Okay.
Any other questions or information board members would need before seeing this at our next regular meeting in January? Great job, Allie. All right, we'll move on to 12.03 policies for first discussion. I will turn it over to Director Kleinjerom.
This was a policy that was brought to us by Kevin that said it would be beneficial if we have this before we go out for the bonds. So this is why it is appearing now. Any questions? Okay, this will.
Is there an IASB policy upon which this was modeled, or?
Yes.
Yes, okay, perfect, thank you.
And there will be some superintendent goals because it mentions our goals and our goals are his goals that will be coming out of this, and they actually appear in the administrative regs. It's things you're already doing. So, thank you.
Thank you. We will move on to administrative reports.
Not this time.
Board request. Oh. Thank you. Name of board member, Director Beck. Date of request 12/11/2023. Item requested is a request for information. Description of the request. Please look into avoiding conflict between the Big Show Choir show-off and a board meeting. Why are you making this request? For the last several years, always the choir show-off for all three DCSD high schools has occurred on a Monday at the same time as a board meeting. Board members would like to attend. When would you like this? As soon as possible. Is there a second? Second. All right, are there any other board requests? All right, we will move on to board reflections. We will start with Director Barnes.
Well, after the euphoria of walking into a room that was jam-packed, I mean, I guess the reflection really is, what a delight to be able to recognize our student athletes, but more importantly, our coaches. I think we all understand how much time our coaches put in to student athletes and their success. That was a real highlight, a real delight tonight to be able to recognize our Falcons and our Wildcats and our Blue Devils.
Thank you, Director Barnes. Director Potts?
I would ditto that on the athletes and their presence. That's an amazing number. We've never had that many show up. It could be the food, but they all showed up. The other item I would reflect upon is that we've just borrowed $160 million to refurbish our schools, and that's a down payment. And it's that we have come that far and nobody stood here yelling at us is a testament to the foundation we laid on going forward in this long-range facility planning.
Thank you, Director Potts. Director Klein Jerome.
I am glad that we have followed a very transparent policy and that Buchanan School has been sold, and we are moving on.
Thank you, Director Klein Jerome. Director Beck.
Yeah, congratulations on the sale of Buchanan. No headaches with the borrowing, and this was a fantastic turnout, and I am so impressed with how many, not just student athletes made state level qualifiers, but coaches that were recognized and coaching staffs that were recognized at the state level. That is phenomenal.
Thank you, Director Beck. Director Poston.
Ditto to Director Barnes and Director Potts' comments, but I would also like to add a big thank you to Kevin and his staff and what he is doing as far as putting this 5-year projection. I know that takes a lot of time and effort, and something that we didn't have in previous years. And again, with the amount of money that we are going to be putting into facilities, it's critical that we continue to manage our funds.
Thank you, Director Poston. Director Hayes.
I'd like to echo everything that's been said, and especially the sale of Buchanan. It's, we can see the light at the end of the tunnel with the construction and the sale and the things that are going on within the district, that we can see the progress with it all.
Thank you, Director Hayes. Superintendent Schneckloff.
Seeing that many student athletes with their parents and families, and I don't know if you noticed, but every single kid that stood up had a look on their face that couldn't be replicated, and it's the pinnacle of a bunch of hard work, and those students will be able to accomplish anything after going through some of the programs our coaches put them through.
Thank you, Superintendent Schneckloff. Yeah, echo what everyone else has said. I think coming in here with the packed house is amazing. It really reaffirms that the stuff we're going to be doing with the long-range facilities plans, if we build it, we're going to get those kids. We're giving them the tools for success, and we're not just reaching out to the student athletes. We're hitting the fine arts and our special needs students as well. So I think Davenport's on the right path on getting everything done. With that, Director Potts, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Mr. Grinch.
Meeting adjourned.
Bruce, you made it.